Honey West. In 1965, ABC took a gamble on something rare for that era, a crime series fronted by a tough, stylish female investigator. Honey West, starring Anne Francis, introduced viewers to a private eye who carried a pistol, drove a convertible, and, yes, lived with a pet ocelot named Bruce. Although Francis's character teamed with a male partner, played by John Erickson, she claimed the primary spotlight. She executed many of her stunts herself, and underwent physical conditioning for the part, helping to establish her as one of the earliest female action heroes on television. Despite commendable viewership and strong reception, the production was suddenly pulled after one brief season. Why? Budget cuts. ABC opted to swap it for the British import The Avengers, which was cheaper to secure than continuing Honey West in-house. Certain insiders believe the network simply didn't foresee lasting returns in a woman-led action show at that point. Media theorists later labeled the series as ahead of its era, an American original sideline long before the genre was ready. And while Bruce the Ocelot grew into a whimsical favorite, the enduring hallmark of Honey West is what it might have become, a visionary that disappeared too soon. Coronet Blue. In 1967, CBS uneventfully introduced a series that had lain dormant for almost 2 years. Coronet Blue, shot in 1965 but set aside until the summer of '67, chronicled a man who survives an attempt on his life by drowning and wakes up with amnesia. His lone clue is the eerie phrase, Coronet Blue. That enigma sparked the show's core puzzle, as the hero, portrayed by Frank Converse, evaded mysterious hunters while searching for his identity. Behind the curtain, the series was devised by Larry Cohen, a prolific television writer who would eventually earn cult recognition for offbeat horror films. Yet Coronet Blue is no horror. It combined espionage, Cold War dread, and philosophical intrigue into one package. CBS ran all 13 filmed episodes as a summer fill-in, with no intention of continuing it, even as it gathered a faithful audience. The network withheld the title's meaning, leaving the storyline incomplete. Viewers debated for years. Some fans hypothesized it was a covert government program. Others proposed mind control experiments. Only many years later did Cohen disclose the planned revelation. The protagonist was a Russian sleeper operative who had rebelled against his superiors, and Coronet Blue was his trigger phrase. That late revelation only intensified the show's cult status. Devoid of closure and steeped in Cold War suspense, Coronet Blue emerged as one of television's most notable unresolved enigmas, illustrating that the most captivating sagas can be those left unfinished. The Cat. In 1966, NBC took a leap on The Cat, a sleek, high-concept action offering spotlighting Thomas Cat, a reformed circus performer and infamous cat burglar who remade himself as a freelance protector. Played by Robert Loggia, Cat operated in the shadows, handling perilous clients others refused. From September 16, 1966 to April 7, 1967, the show dazzled in full color, marked by a jazz-infused score, stylized cinematography, and a brooding protagonist who often let his fists speak for him. Critics admired Loggia's understated magnetism, and viewers gravitated toward the show's noir sensibility, which felt more like film than typical TV fare. Nonetheless, NBC ended the run after 26 installments. No official reasons were provided, but some watchers suspect its more somber tone, deliberate pacing, and morally gray lead clashed with lighter primetime competition. Others propose it was simply overlooked in a jam-packed season. Regardless, The Cat vanished quickly, but left an indelible mark. Decades later, its imprint can be detected in lone agent dramas like The Equalizer and Burn Notice. For a series that lasted less than a year, it offered one of the era's coolest calling cards. It's About Time. In 1966, Sherwood Schwartz, already riding high following Gilligan's Island, unveiled a new sitcom with a prehistoric twist, It's About Time. The idea was outlandish, even by 60's standards. Two astronauts crash land in the Stone Age and struggle to exist among club-brandishing cave inhabitants. Originally pitched as an eccentric time travel romp, the show abruptly shifted directions halfway through its solitary season. After just 18 episodes, the spacemen returned to the 1960s, this time accompanied by a pair of cave dwellers. The swift transformation perplexed viewers and fractured the show's identity. Schwartz later commented on the fraught move, admitting it felt like two separate series forced into one. Behind the scenes, lean budgets allegedly required the reuse of outfits and props from other CBS ventures, resulting in a clearly recycled aesthetic. The rushed production didn't bolster its fortunes, and even the catchy opening tune, composed by Schwartz, proved insufficient to rescue it. Some observers contend the hasty format switch was CBS's frantic answer to low ratings and the news that more straightforward hits like The Andy Griffith Show were outperforming it. Whatever the motive, It's About Time ended after only 26 installments, leaving its small fan base wondering what could have been if it had remained faithful to its original plan. The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. In September of 1966, ABC presented a daring novelty. A woman-led companion to NBC's smash success, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Dubbed The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., it starred Stephanie Powers as April Dancer, a stylish, quick-witted agent maneuvering through Cold War eccentricities with modern flair. The premise held promise: blend spycraft with chic bravado, and challenge the genre's male domination. Yet by April of 1967, it disappeared after just 29 episodes. Reviewers found it bewildering in tone, too offbeat for traditional espionage fans, too restrained for comedy enthusiasts. Some insiders whisper that ABC insisted the writers reduce April's boldness, substituting substance with glamour. Others pin the blame on the overabundance of spy shows in the mid-60s, with audiences fatigued by gadgets, double-crossers, and trench coats. A few even claim the creative team feuded over whether to lampoon the genre or treat it earnestly. Despite the turbulence, the series cultivated a loyal niche, with later appraisals praising its attempt to foreground a woman in a field seldom offering that space. While it never attained the cultural magnitude of its predecessor, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. remains an intriguing artifact in television history, an emblem of big ambition, mishaps, and roads not taken. He and She. In 1967, CBS ventured a sitcom that reviewers hailed as among the wittiest of its day, then abruptly ended it after just 26 installments. He and She featured real-life spouses Richard Benjamin and Paula Prentice as Dick and Paula Hollister, a savvy urban couple balancing marriage in Manhattan and work peculiarities. The script stood out for their sardonic humor and forward-leaning perspective, especially with Paula's character employed outside the home as a social worker, a rarity for sitcom wives of that period. Some television historians, including David Bianculli, have deemed it the missing link between the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Others suggest it left its stamp on future comedies, with a handful of scholars pointing to its possible influence on Mad About You. Jack Cassidy's Emmy triumph in 1968 for portraying the flamboyant TV star Oscar North couldn't rescue it. CBS chose to axe it, citing a mismatch with the channel's rural-focused lineup, think Green Acres and Petticoat Junction. Rumors floated that executives dubbed it too New York for heartland audiences, a death knell in an era seeking broad appeal. Nowadays, He and She is frequently referenced as one of the 60s most undeserved cancellations, a show arguably a few years ahead of the curve. The Tammy Grimes Show. In 1966, ABC premiered The Tammy Grimes Show, only to drop it after a mere 4 outings. Created by George Axelrod, known for The 7-Year Itch, the sitcom aimed to showcase Broadway luminary Tammy Grimes in a starring role tailored to her dramatic abilities. She portrayed an eccentric heiress uninterested in maturity, a premise that never quite resonated with viewers. Some critics then observed that Grimes' stage-to-screen performance style overwhelmed television's closer lens. Others attributed the failure to the network's mishandling of the show's positioning amid a crowded fall lineup. Whispers suggest ABC had second thoughts well before it debuted, unsure how best to promote Grimes' peculiar energy. Despite a cast that included Dick Sargent and film veteran Maureen O'Sullivan, the production was dumped almost instantaneously. While not technically the shortest-lived primetime entry, it became an emblem of splashy flops. Grimes returned to the stage where she remained a legend, yet her short-lived TV project still baffles devotees of Broadway meets television experiments. Garrisons Gorillas. In 1967, ABC made a gamble on a World War II drama that didn't play by the usual network rules. Garrisons Gorillas centered on a rogue unit of convicted criminals, burglars, swindlers, even former killers, recruited for covert missions behind enemy lines. The setup mirrored the hit film The Dirty Dozen, released that same year, but bringing that level of grit to primetime television was a bold move. these weren't polished war heroes. They were anti-heroes navigating moral ambiguity at a time when most shows stuck to black and white ideals. The series leaned into its rough edges, with action sequences that pushed the envelope for late 60s TV. While some critics admired its daring tone and inventive premise, others questioned whether it was too intense for family audiences. Retrospective accounts suggest ABC faced pressure from advertisers wary of the show's darker themes. As TV historian Stephen Bowie has argued, Garrisons' Gorillas may have been ahead of its time, but its time slot wasn't. Ratings lagged behind lighter offerings like variety shows and sitcoms, and by 1968 the network canceled it after just one season, leaving several plot threads dangling and fans frustrated. Strangely, the show's afterlife proved more colorful than its brief run. In Vietnam, reruns of Garrisons' Gorillas gained a surprising cult following, with viewers reportedly drawn to its unfiltered portrayal of wartime tactics. Anecdotal reports also point to a niche fan base in China, though the extent of its popularity there remains debated. It's often suggested that the show's anti-establishment undertones struck a chord with international audiences grappling with their own post-war realities. Whatever the case, Garrisons' Gorillas remains one of the most peculiar casualties of 60s television, a gritty experiment that burned bright, fast, and far too briefly. The New People. In late September of 1969, ABC introduced a bold experiment in primetime drama and quietly buried it. The New People centered on a group of college students stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash, forced to build a new society without adult supervision. But this wasn't just a Lord of the Flies retread. Created by Aaron Spelling and Larry Gordon, with a pilot penned by The Twilight Zone's Rod Serling, the show tackled themes like generational power shifts, social reconstruction, and moral ambiguity, topics that mainstream network TV rarely touched in the 60s. ABC aired it in a unique 45-minute slot, paired with another short-format series in a 90-minute programming block. The concept was ambitious, but the timing was brutal. Scheduled directly against NBC's Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, a pop culture phenomenon of the era, The New People never stood a chance in the ratings war. It was cancelled after just 15 episodes. A few critics praised its audacity, while others felt its tone was too grim for the era. Decades later, TV scholars have drawn comparisons to Lost, noting the show's ensemble cast and serialized structure as ahead of its time. Rumors have long swirled that Serling wanted to push the story into darker, more dystopian territory, but network executives reportedly reined it in. Whether true or not, The New People remains a fascinating anomaly, an ambitious series that asked hard questions before audiences were ready to hear them. The Second 100 Years. In 1967, ABC introduced a sitcom so odd it made viewers wonder if broadcast television had finally gone rogue. The Second 100 Years focused on Luke Carpenter, a gold prospector trapped in an avalanche near 1900, who thaws out in the heart of the swinging 60s. Monty Markham portrayed both Luke and his modern-day grandson, Ken, requiring resourceful costuming and performance changes instead of elaborate cosmetics, despite widespread assumption. The series emphasized generational humor, with Luke baffled by everything from futuristic lingo to miniskirts, while Ken labored to keep his grandfather from becoming front-page news. Although the concept was well before its time, long preceding Futurama or Captain America's dabbling in suspended animation, the Second 100 Years did not endure. Despite its novelty, it faced stiff scheduling competition and uneven writing. Its audience never grew sizable, and critics were split. Some applauded the creativity, others labeled it a one-note premise. Officially, ABC ended it in 1968 following one season, though a few insist that internal slotting conflicts and network vacillation contributed more than the viewership data alone. Looking back, the show stood among a curious batch of imaginative sitcoms that wove science fiction with comedy, joining my favorite Martian and Bewitched. But unlike those favorites, the Second 100 Years soon faded into obscurity, seldom mentioned outside of TV buffs' deeper explorations. For its fans, it remains a maddening could-have-been, evidence that even bold ideas can vanish amid the chaos. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.